Hello, hello. I can't see you. I can't hear you either. Oh, I can hear a little voice. You're starting to come through. Oh, that's a little bit better.
Okay. I don't know why. Hang on. I can see you, but I know you can't.
Have you got a little icon that looks like a camera?
Yeah.
Hey.
Now.
Are you in a bit of a reception black spot? Huh? I've got a pixelated image of a beautiful face. That's hey. But I can't. Oh, you're not talking. I was going to say I can't hear you.
I don't know why it's acting like.
Yeah, I can hear like bits and pieces of what you're saying, and then you cut in and out. But your picture's getting clearer.
No.
You kind of like I can hear bits and pieces of what you're saying. And then it doesn't, and then it just goes kind of silent. I can see your lips moving, but I can't hear anything. But the picture's definitely getting better.
Yay!
Yay, I heard that.
Huh?
I said I heard that. Hey, that's much better.
It's much better? Okay. So I will just stay here.
Okay.
And not move.
Where is here? Is that a comfortable spot? Where is it? Is that at a doorway?
Yeah. I tell you what. Let me. I don't have my notebook with me. I'd like to take my notebook.
Yeah.
I'll get that quick, and then I'll come back.
Okay.
I'll just get both of them because I can't remember which one I was using. Okay.
Well, you still got great reception where you are now. If you want to stay where your notebooks were, it's up to you. It's just where you started was all a bit. I mean, which is fine, except that I really want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. Let's see. I kind of like it out on the porch because it's such a beautiful day.
Yeah.
So let me try there, and I won't walk outside, I promise, because that's the beginning of the end. Let me do that. Okay. Can you hear it okay now?
I can. It's funny that you end up there because I was thinking this morning about how those photos, those kind of profile photos that you've sent with that blue background would be really lovely if they were kind of extended so that they were the size of a banner, so that your face was kind of at one end and then there's like a landscape of just the blue along the side. I was just thinking that's such a beautiful, because you have such a a gentle, loving kindness that comes through, and it feels like it's accentuated by that background. I can't explain why. Maybe it's because it's the colour and the texture, and maybe it's how you feel when you're in that room.
Yeah, I could live out here.
Yeah.
If I mean, I could. It's so beautiful. I love it.
Mm.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
I like that.
So I don't know if you can do landscapes, or maybe take 2 photos, like one with your face with the blue and then another just of the blue next to it, so I can kind of merge them together and make a banner.
Okay.
I mean, you don't have to use it, but it just it kind of came to me.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Morning.
I love this blue, and I think that's a great idea. I like that idea a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've been collecting some of the pictures that you've been sending me, and I do, I have, when you send me those amazing handmade mobiles, I see like a blog post or an article or something connected to them where there's just this kind of very simple message, and maybe you have the little recording with it. Yeah. So in my brain, it's kind of coming together, and I'd love to know, what's happening for you? Where does it feel like? What's happening, Miss Becca? Tell me what's happening.
Oh, well, I talked to Uncle Ken, I guess, about a week ago for about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And basically, I was just laying out in the side yard. We weren't Skyping. I was just chatting on the phone.
Yeah.
And the thing that keeps coming back to me is, to me, the more production that is involved in it is taken away from what I want it to be, or what the feeling of it is I want it to be.
Yeah.
Kind of like I want it to be like when you're 5 years old and you're a passenger in your mom or dad's car, and you're just watching the world go by through the window.
Yeah.
And you're not really thinking about anything. You're just kind of observing. And that's kind of the feeling I want. That's the feeling I get when I look at that mobile. I kind of get transfixed, not by it, but kind of through it or something. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
And that's when I take pictures about here, or just little video vignettes or whatever, that's the feeling that it gives me. And that's what I'm hoping comes across in the filming of it. I do know that, when I took a video of it with my camera of the mobile, it was really kind of interesting because, I heard we have it's a pretty busy, not pretty busy, but it's occasionally busy street. People go way too fast.
Yeah.
But I didn't really notice that as much. It was kind of interesting. And then when I listened for the sound, it almost sounded like an ocean, because it would come and go like a wave. And then I could hear the mobile. I have a hanging mobile, that makes sound. So I very slowly brought it from the back porch, and then you could hear it get louder and louder and louder as the camera was just videotaping this for about 8 minutes. Now I don't know that I'd want it on that long. I don't know, but then I took it away, and you could hear it fading away. And I just thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
But, so I've just been kind of playing around with different things to see what lands, I guess, or what looks or feels good when I watch it.
Yeah, yeah. And when you make it, so you're kind of tying together the process.
Yeah, and you mentioned about Adam's music, and, the one thing about Adam is which I think is, I've just noticed that he very much wants to have something be right or be exact.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and I write to him, probably once a week or more, and I just say, whatever it sounds like, it's perfect. Even if it's imperfect, because we're all in progress, and that's just a catalog of where you are in that moment. It doesn't mean that's how you are all the time, and don't be afraid to let that shine out. No matter what you think of it, it doesn't matter. It's what I think of it. It doesn't matter what you think. No, but I mean, because I love how he plays anyway, even if it goofs up and, it goofs up. Yeah. I don't know it because I don't, but he's a little bit more wanting to be technically accurate. You know what I'm saying, with his music.
Yeah. He's assessing it. He's assessing it by a different series, by a different standard, of right? Measures.
And that's what I told him too. I said, I would just love to hear something that you play, because every time he plays, you can tell that he feels what he's playing, and that's to me what matters.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because you can see it in his body when he plays. He'll lean into something, or he'll close his eyes, or he'll turn his head, or he'll, and that tells me that's if I feel like he's feeling the music go through him rather than him playing the guitar.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're kind of enamored by the whole process, and he's just assessing the music as a thing in itself.
Yes. And let me tell you something, because I asked him this question. It was so fascinating. Hang on. I said, how do you feel? And I read him my story about the bees. Have I read you my story about the bees?
I don't know. Read it to me.
Okay. Oh, Lord. I'm glad I brought both notebooks. That's all I got to say. Okay. Okay. Oh, Lordy. Okay.
If you can't find it, it's fine. You can...
Yeah.
Just tell me what he said when you... I mean, there's no rush. I can sit here until you find it if you feel like you want to read it.
I kind of want to, and I'm sorry I'm like that, but I kind of want to.
No, I love that you're like that, Miss Becca.
Okay. Okay, where is it? Red. Come on now. Okay, here's what Adam said. I'll go to his part first.
Yeah.
Because the thing that was so funny to me is that I read to him how it must feel to be a bee. That's how I imagine it must feel. I said, so that's kind of what I'm asking you, is how does it feel in your body? And he goes, I can't really tell you. He goes, I just feel happy. He said, I prefer playing with people than playing alone. And I said, why? And he said, the way I feel, it has a rhythm that can't be obstructed. When you play alone, you can bend. You do what you want. You can bend it the way you want. But when you play with others, it is more like a rhythm that can't be bent. You're going somewhere together.
Yeah, wow.
And I thought, oh my gosh, that was just awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa. And because he said, well, Mom, I don't feel it so poetic like you do. And I'm like, well, what you just said was very poetic to me. I mean, that was amazing, So I just thought it was pretty cool that what he said, that he feels like you can do it any way you want to when you're alone, but when you're playing with people, it's I don't know, it's a rhythm that can't be bent. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's very much,
to me, that says he's almost like, it's almost like a hived purpose, a hived mind, or like cells of an organ all working together toward a direction, toward a common purpose, and the flow isn't restricted because you're all going together.
Yeah.
rather than alone you figure out what you want to do and you can go any way you want.
Yeah.
That you necessarily restrict it, but that you can restrict it if you want to. But when you work together, you work together.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just really cool.
It
I
is.
thought it was really...
It's amazing. And it's kind of like that sense of control and surrender, or, you know, divine purpose versus the human instinct to avoid anything that feels unfamiliar. And there's a whole lot of really beautiful stuff in that for people to take.
Kind of undercurrent to it. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Yeah, and you know, another thing I was thinking about that whole deal was before I talked to Ken, it's about a week, I've been doing this really cool lady on YouTube, you know. She does this walking exercise for the American Heart Association. And I like her because she's about my age, maybe in her mid-40s, maybe about 10 years younger than me.
Yeah.
But I like her because she's not some cherub, nubile, chirpy thing that says, oh, come on, we can do this, you know. And she makes it fun, but she's realistic, too. Like, you know, I know this is hard, but, you know. But anyway, I like it because when the weather's bad outside, I can do it, and I feel good. You know, it feels good. And she's it's very mild and gentle. But you still feel like you've done something, you know,
yeah.
Which is good for your body. But anyway, all that to say, a few times that I was doing this exercising stuff, and then before, I guess about 2 weeks ago, it's like, this is going to sound really weird. It's like my sacrum felt like a gong.
Yeah.
And it felt very full.
Yeah.
And it felt like if I had something to hit it with, or if I would move just the right way, or if I touched it in just the right way, it would like gong and sound out really loud.
Wow.
And go up. You know, I mean, it almost felt like, you know how when you pour hot tea or water in a glass and it gets to where it's tremulous right at the top of the edge of the cup.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I was feeling. Isn't that?
That's not weird at all. That's not weird at all. That sense of, you know, the potential vibration or whatever you want to call that of it being a gong. Yeah. You know, that sensitivity and awareness and energy, because it does feel like a buzzing that's kind of...
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like you say, is a gong. It's not necessarily spurting as if it's being hit all the time, but you can feel that it's being held. You know, that energy is kind of just in waiting or potential or whatever that word is.
Yeah, and I kept, and you know, for a long time I've been really, like when Tom goes away.
Yeah.
I leave quite a few lights on in the house, and I don't have the TV on. I'm not a TV person anyway, but I don't leave that kind of light on, just lights, you know.
Yeah.
And I just think it's interesting because I've always been afraid of the dark ever since I was little.
Yeah.
But I find myself being drawn to being in the dark.
Yeah. And
being in a forest and being in a, you know, kind of submerge a little bit. And something keeps telling me, you know, there's a light that's there. You just got to be in the dark to see it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So anyway, I haven't gone there yet, but I've been really close to doing that. A few nights I've been in the house with no lights on.
Yeah.
You know, not being afraid, but just being kind of, well, twitches of it, yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not afraid of anybody getting me necessarily.
Yeah.
I do get afraid of, you know, because I've felt my grandfather around me some from time to time in a very reassuring way, not in a scary way. But I also feel like if I left myself open, I would I would see more, and I'm not sure I'm ready to do
Yeah. Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? Yeah, so. And, you know, my mama tells me when I was little, because I would see him a lot, and he was still alive, but I would see him in the closet sometimes waving to me and being silly. And I would tell Mama that. She goes, Becca, she said, Papa would never scare you like that. I said, but I wasn't scared. I was waving back.
Yeah.
And she didn't know what to say to that. You know?
No.
So, I thought that was funny.
No, I mean, because the parents, you know, some parents in that kind of protectiveness and wanting to have all the answers, sometimes they just say the first thing that comes to them because they kind of panic and they want to protect and have all the answers. So,
yeah, she's
you know,
she's definitely in that mode, you know, wanted to make sure I wasn't scared. I was looking for that bee story. That's why I'm in here again.
Yeah,
I'll be mad.
That darkness, that's really beautiful that you're exploring that sense of just having a conversation about the darkness. You know, you allow yourself to be so open and vulnerable when you talk about what's happening for you, and it's really precious. It's something I don't feel like I have to protect you or tell you it's okay. I feel like I'm in this really magical, enchanted forest that you found yourself in, and you're kind of discovering for yourself, and it's like you've just invited me in to discover it with you. It's so it's amazing to hear what's happening for you, you know, like just what you're exploring. I know it seems like a lot of the people in the world who have clients or businesses have answers or processes for people, but I think there's a space for those who just share what's happening for them, and that comes through in a really powerful way as a healing, you know, or helping or meditative or self-awareness process in itself.
Yeah.
You know, like there's something about your revelation, your sharing, the honesty of what's going on that feels like it's the business, it's the product, it's the meditation itself. I don't know if that makes sense, but it feels like that's enough. You know, it feels like that's really welcome in the world. You know, the way that you like the YouTube lady that kind of is realistic and you know, meets you in a particular place. I just have this vision of this kind of online space that allows you just to, like you say, share the video that captured your attention, and next to the video are a few words that came to you, and underneath that is the, you know, something else that's kind of connected to that, and it feels like that's it, like that's enough, you know, like there's something.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking when I, you know, like, when I was at Gramercy time, and I kind of held my phone like down in my pelvis, and I was skipping through the leaves, and I love the crunch swish when I was skipping through the leaves, you know, how sharp and fresh it sounded, even though the leaves were dead and on the ground. It sounded alive, like they were alive. Yeah. And then I did that after I started with a picture of this happy Buddha guy, and the morning sun was shining on his belly. And then I kind of rotated the phone so that you could see the prisming light against him, and then back and forth, just really slow, like a a really slow pendulum.
Yeah.
And then I slowly turned and then I skipped away. And to me, that's exactly something a 3-year-old would do.
Yeah,
would
yeah.
would catch their attention and go, oh, okay, then I'm going to go run in the leaves, you know?
Yeah.
And but it was very, I was like, I don't know. I just love that video. And it's on my Google Plus or something. It's in the ether right now, but I can pull it back when I want to. But that's one video I really like. I don't even know if I'd do anything different. I think the sound, as good as it is, you can hear the birds chirping and you can see the sun and you can hear the leaves. And to me, that's just everything, you know. But because I think embodiment also has to do with the vibrancy of nature, you know. I mean, we're so fast. It's hard to stop and see what that is sometimes.
Yeah.
For me, it is sometimes, you know, it's hard to notice it when you're busy, you're forward in your head thinking about to do, and all this is pouring out and there's nothing coming in, or there's very little coming in as to what you're noticing just right there around you, right under your feet, or, you know, over your shoulder or against your cheek.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. And I just think that sense of, you know, it's like, I think of it like humor. When we see someone who we think we want to make happy or make smile, if we say smile, that's not necessarily going to do it. There's other indirect, non-demand means of being with people that has that ability to inspire joy or reverence or mindfulness or embodiment. And I feel like just sharing the things that you want, that you're enamored with, just sharing the things that, the words that come to you and the stories that you have to tell and the videos that you want to make, it feels like that's enough. It feels like that's the kind of embodiment, product, process, whatever you want to call it, that people are ready for, because that kind of direct, speaker-oriented, process-oriented, expert, it feels like there's enough of those, and you don't have to be one of those. It feels like there's a space for you to be the just be lady.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm gonna find that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Keep talking. It's okay. I just gotta move
Keep
a little
looking.
bit and
Keep
find that
looking
piece
for
of
the.
paper.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, like there's something. It feels like that's, you know, like the fat nutritionist. Some people, it's okay to be fresh and new and do the thing that feels like you're naturally the market for. And I know that's not the reason that we do it. There's a purpose that's kind of propelling us to put this stuff out there.
Right.
I just feel like if you let me, and if it feels like it fits, I'd really love to play with some ideas about how that works online, so that you, and it doesn't compete with the OT stuff. Like, it's not something to replace it or to move the OT into something else. It feels like how they work together will be organic. Something will occur to you.
Yeah, I think that's why, you know, I think that's why I feel like my OT is secondary and what I do organically is primary.
Yeah.
And that's why people like it when I walk through the door. It's not because I'm a great OT, even though technically I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, you do something for 30 years, you better be pretty good at something.
Yeah.
I'm thinking. But, you know, technically proficient, but the undercurrent of it is, I just love that word, is what we're talking about. You know what I mean? I think I told you that story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just tell it as I recall it. And if I goober up and I have to retrack it, and then I'll do that, okay?
Okay.
Is that all right? Okay.
Yeah, I love your storytelling. Of course it's all right. It's
Okay.
more than all right.
Okay, so um, oh, I told you about feeding side yard. That's how it started, and I was squirrel walking in side yard, and then I got to thinking about bees, especially in typical about worker bees and about all these phrases, busy as a bee, and how those terms, worker bee and busy as a bee and drone bee, all intimate an attitude of effort in industry, which makes sense when you see what they do in their honeycombs and in their work and in their fervent attempt continually, doing these jobs that's necessary and vital to the whole. And then I imagine what it must be like to be a bee and how, I can feel the sun prisming against my furry little body, kind of enveloping me in warmth, and how with my eyes, human eyes, flowers are beautiful, but I see it differently as a bee. The center of each flower is a darker image than the outer. And it's almost like I'm magnetically drawn to that soul center of the flower. And as soon as I get just slightly close to it, that pollen is dancing in the air from the flapping of my wings and the breeze of the between the flowers and the sun warming the pollen, and how that pollen just automatically just latches onto my tiny little legs, and how there's golden dust dancing all around me. And I think, how can that be work? That's got to be bliss. I mean, you got all this warmth and all this sparkling air, fairy dust looking stuff all around you, and how can that feel like work? That's got to feel like bliss. And then I think, maybe that's why there are less bees, is because it seems more like work now. There's a lot more placed in their way. GMOs, electromagnetic fields that are non-natural, with all human effort to improve upon nature. So, the bee figures give me bliss or give me death. They don't want to play here. It's not any fun. So they're going to go play somewhere else. Not that we're doomed or that that's a horrible thing. It's just that they don't want to play. It's too hard to play. It's not play anymore. It's work.
Mm.
Anyway, I don't want to be a downer or anything, but that's just what got me thinking, about work and play and how when you turn something that feels like work into more of a playful attitude, then it's easier to swallow. It's like a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down, and it's like my mom, she's very interesting. She always taught us, to be grateful for what we have and this and that. And in her behavior, a lot of times I'd see a different story. I'd see her really, for the first time, she told me when she retired, my dad retired, that she hated to cook when we were growing up because it felt like a chore. because something she had to do. And that got me to thinking about how much I hated to do dishes. And then I thought, I wonder if I could turn that phrase a little bit. I have to do the dishes. And now I call it bathing the dishes. They're having a bubble bath. And I get to stand in front of the window and look at the sun glisten on the water in the pool as I reflect that water in the sink, washing dishes in a bubble bath. You know, and that's taking care of my dishes. They work so hard to provide a surface for us to eat upon and to eat with our utensils and to cut our good food and to tuck it away for another day inside the refrigerator, you know. So it becomes a little less chore-like and not fun, but not distasteful either. And more of a kind of a cajolement into the chore getting done rather than a imaginary whip flogging myself on my back. Why aren't you doing your dishes? You know, I don't know. That's what I do sometimes. I play in my mind that I can't do it all the time because, you know, I just don't, but, I don't know, it's just fun to do sometimes. Kind of like, you know, when I lose something, like my bee story. And in my mind, I was saying, where are you? And I thought, I don't have time to play hide and seek right now. I'll just tell my story. Yes. So I'll use time. But anyway, you know, it's just fun to think about that.
I'm just writing notes.
You know, when I first moved here, and that was 2010, 5 years ago, a little over 5 years ago now, there were seagulls everywhere. Seagulls, you know, we're about probably, as the seagull flies, we're about 1.5 miles from the beach, from the coast, from the nature coast of Florida.
Yeah.
And you'd see seagulls in the parking lot at Publix or our local grocery store and stuff. And now, primarily, we see crows. And I think that's very interesting, you know. I don't know what that means. I just think it's interesting. I think the climate is deciding to do different a little bit.
They're also, for some people, spiritually significant. I know for me, crows have always meant messages from, you know, sacred places. So when crows turn up, it's another language. It just kind of, it allows me to tune into, you know, a communication frequency that I might not necessarily be wired into in that moment. And so whenever I hear them, because I heard them in the background when you were telling the story, and for me they signify a kind of pay attention in a particular way, beacon. But yeah, for other people they mean different things. For some people they're foreboding.
Yeah. Oh, I love crows. I've always loved crows. I think they're very smart.
Yeah.
And I think they're very accurate in their noticement of things. Oh, God. I don't know who the hell is calling me. I'm not going to answer it.
You can if you like.
I don't know how to do that and talk to you. How to do that.
Or do you want me to hang up and then ring you back? Or you can ring me back. It's up to you.
I'll leave a message. They'll be fine.
Okay.
It's all right. They've already hung up, so it wasn't a big deal.
Okay.
I didn't recognize the number. I probably would have answered it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you too. I mean, to me, any animal that crosses your path, I always try to notice, what it means to me right then, what kind of ask myself that question. Oh, why are you here today?
Yeah.
What's going on? What do you want to tell me? So yeah, I love crows. I love their calling, and I love, there's one. Oh my gosh. I don't know if she was transgender or what, but she really had an interesting voice.
Yeah.
I say she, but it wasn't a call. It was a kind of a combination shriek, call, meow sound. And it was coming from her. She was at work, which I thought was interesting that she was at work at the edge of the building and making that noise. There was no one else there but me. I wish I'd have remembered more about that day. But I thought, what are you trying to tell me today? Because she was very different. But anyway, yeah, so I love crows, and I agree with that too. I have a couple books about animal speech, like animal symbology, and just see what it feels like to me as far as, not that I put everything into what they say, but it's just interesting to see what other cultures have thought of them and that kind of thing, their mythos and all that stuff. So I find that really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And you feel, I mean, it's kind of like your truth comes to the surface each time you read those stories about what other people think it might mean. There might be part of that story that feels like it's relevant to you. And I mean, it's constantly shifting as well. I don't think any of it is set in stone. So you
take what resonates, and the rest you for another day or whatever.
Yeah, definitely, because sometimes you feel into it and it's like, well, today it doesn't mean that, it means something else. What does it mean? And you get a different answer.
Yeah.
And I think the beauty of all that is the actual asking of the question. It's the noticing rather than whatever conclusion it is that we come to. And I think that's what people want a hand-holding process with, the ability to just ask the question. Like you say, in the busyness of life and in a lot of the ways that people are taught to engage with the world, it's very much about what's the answer. What direction should I go in? And I think there's quite a few people that are not necessarily looking for someone else's answer, but looking for a means of being with their own question so that they can divine their own direction. So there's even that, the work and play in the bee story, and that sense of being able to meet, that self-awareness, like that process of self-awareness, how your mum taught you gratitude, and then you observed that she didn't necessarily demonstrate it for her own experience, which made you self-aware of the ways that you do that, which inspired you to play in those areas. Like just that process in itself is a really powerful, how can I be with the question rather than drawing conclusions.
And I think it's interesting too because I think more and more it's the age we're stepping into is the age of personal experience.
Yeah.
That is blooming through the age of rigid intellectual knowledge.
Yeah.
And it feels like, I mean, I like it feels good to do it the way for me is because I'm meeting myself where I am and not expecting myself to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
and getting rid of shoulds and have tos and rules, basically. Kind of self-governing myself, and how can I be that best self without even knowing that that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Kind of confusing when I say it that way, but
No,
I mean, that's what it feels like. That I'm still, because I'm using that particular little playful game, that in the playing of that game, I'm doing a higher purpose, but that's not the reason I'm doing it.
Yes.
Because it's fun, and because it's interesting, and because it's exploring, and because it's pretending, and it's because, of that.
Yeah, that ability to, again, which brings me back to humor, being able to separate what looks like the motivation from what you're doing.
Yes.
So there's a lot of sense of that kind of direct, linear communication that happens in our own lives, that kind of problem-solving paradigm. And often it's the non-problem-solving approach that allows us to have the experience which solves the problem without the problem having to be a problem.
Right.
So by
Yeah. I tell you in my OT-ness what I do. We have a lot of people with dementia and Alzheimer's, and a lot of family members who are struggling with seeing their family member and it being a chore and a burden to take care of them in their home.
Yeah.
And so when I assess their behavior, and I can tell for myself they're at a 2-year-old or 4-year-old level or a 6-year-old level or whatever, based on the behavior that they're exhibiting in the home. Then I make what's called an activity box. Frequently I color it with flowers, because many of the people are women, because they live longer than men anyway. And I color it with these big, bright, beautiful flowers, and then I cover it in clear masking tape or contact paper, so that if it gets wet, it, will never fade or whatever. So inside of this box, so basically the box itself is a present. It looks like a present. Yeah. It's very bright, and it's very beautiful, and it's very visually arresting for a lot of these people. Catches their attention. Like, so a couple of them even catch their breath, like, oh, what is that? And so anyway, I bring it to the home, and usually it's a daughter that's taking care of them. And then I have, anything I can. A lot of these ladies used to sew or quilt, or these more domestic types of things, and so I include, like, I'll have different colors of fabric swatches, or different pieces of leather, or suede cloth that's soft and different colors, and some hearts and some leaves, that look like an actual leaf, and it feels soft like a leaf, or have them match those things color wise or whatever. And I have some beautiful thick fat yarn that they can easily hold in their sweet little hands and wrap around a wooden bobbin that's wood, not plastic, so anything I can do to tie them into the natural world. Mm. But the thing I love about it the best, and the gentle surprise of offering that to a patient, is it's really not for the patient, it's for the daughter. Yeah. Who sees her mom doing something positive and that she enjoys, and that feels and reminds her of how her mother was, and she's seeing it again, for a few minutes, a few seconds or whatever. And that not only relieves her burden a little bit, but it lets her catch her breath and go, okay, this is something we can do that's positive together, even though she'll scratch and bite me when I have to take her to the bathroom. Yeah. Yeah. A few minutes later, we can have this positive experience together, and so that's why people say I'm excellent at what I do as an OT, but to me that's not OT. That's this other thing. Yeah. And I love that gentle surprise of it. That's an effect that I didn't at the time anticipate, but I'm seeing it every time I bring that box. It's like a magic box. Mm. And it's a present to be present. Yeah. So pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. It's extraordinary. You know, it's miraculous. It's life-changing. It's, you know, it has an effervescence and a romance and a, you know, it allows the daughter to be a child again, and which is a big thing. You know, there's something about love when there's this lyric in a song that says, all I ever wanted was to be treated like a child, because there's something about, you know, the romance of what it is to be loved as a child. It's not necessarily the reality, but the romance of what it is to be loved like a child is to be treated gently, to be included, you know, to be engaged playfully. And, you know, it is to be welcomed even when you're tired. It's to be allowed into the private places even when you're doing something that you don't want anyone else to walk in the room. The child has this special all-access pass to you. You know, there's something about being loved like a child that's permissive. It allows us to have permission to be who we are when we are. You know, there's something about that's people are trying to kind of have for themselves. I mean, I watched a kind of 2-minute film this morning about these boxer puppies, and they're all over each other. Like, one's asleep and another one's chewing on his face, and like 2 of them are cuddled up and there's another one stepping on them and putting his ass all over them. Like, it's just, there's something about they allow themselves permission to be where they are, and the other ones are just doing what they're doing. They're not reacting to what's happening as if it's an injustice or a gift, or they're not kind of ranking or assessing what their brothers and sisters are doing. They're just, if there's an ass in my face and I don't want it there, I'll move my head. Like, they don't kind of have the same idea about what's going on as we do when we stop giving ourselves permission to be a child with all access, you know. And you do walk in the room when the parents aren't ready and they'll say, get out. But it won't stop you from doing it the next time you have an impulse to walk in the room. It's part of how you give yourself permission, because you don't have any other way of being that child. Like, and it's like we have this story that we're kind of shaped and conditioned, and I'm not dismissing that those things, you know, are valid sometimes. I just think there's something else about investigating, exploring, allowing, asking the question about, well, what would it mean if I gave myself permission to be that child who was inspired by those motivations, you know, and still had the responsibilities, because kids still have responsibilities. They feel responsible to each other. They feel behoven to one another. That's the nature of their connection. Like, they don't, it's not that they're completely selfish. It's just that they're, you know, they have a different way of organising what's relevant in this moment. You know, their responsibilities and obligations just have a different way of engaging the world. You know, like you say, without rules, we come to a place where we're allowed to do it our own way. You know, we still pay the rent and look after our mother who has dementia, and, you know, we still do all those things. We do them with permission and a different arrangement about an assessment of what's happening for us. And I think the stuff that you do is, like you say, that activity box isn't the OT, it's the other stuff. And it's this other stuff that can be digitally reproduced and kind of offered. I just think you're amazing. Every time we talk about this stuff, I have so many great ideas, and I don't want to go ahead with them until you have a, you know, because this is your project, not mine, as much as I want to run with it and throw it all over the universe. I need it to be at a time when you're comfortable with it, in a style that you appreciate, in a place that you feel like you have access to and is easy to use, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I could totally see myself, um, I could totally see myself, in a very cheerful, space like right here, um, just making the box and having the camera on what I'm doing with my hands. And I'm talking as I do, but not constantly.
Yeah.
So you can hear the cutting of things and the swishing of the felt marker and how I'm thinking about the person that I'm making this for and why I'm choosing this instead of that, or not that I say it all, but I think the film will say it.
Yeah.
As it's being done, and then, I mean, I've even had a daydream about giving a workshop or an in-service about this, and how, I would maybe have 5 people at random chosen out of the people and ask 10 questions about them, and they'd be anonymous or whatever. And they answer the questions. And then based on those questions, I make them an activity box. I pick one person and make them an activity box and explain why I'm making it the way I'm doing it or whatever,
Yeah.
just so that they can see that process as I'm doing it and why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. And, yeah, I mean, I like the video aspect better of how to do that and how to offer that as something to provide for people who have, you could do it for anybody who's going through, detox or it doesn't have to be somebody with dementia. I've done care packages for people with arthritis who have really bad hand arthritis or who have, a lot of different things, but those are geared just a little bit differently because it's really for the person I'm giving it to as opposed to the family. The purpose of it is different, a little bit shifted. But yeah, I mean, I definitely could see, I've thought about a lot of times just filming what I've done. That's why I took pictures of the flower puzzle I made, that was part of the reason to say, okay, how would I offer this?
Yeah.
How would I show somebody how to do it or whatever,
Yeah. Which was the first thing that I thought of when you.
It was funny because when I made that box and everything, I made it for this Spanish lady, and the box activity box was like lime green background. It was already a color. And then I used white contact paper and then made flowers and I pressed them against the box, and then I covered it with clear contact paper and I put all these different colored things and the flower puzzles and all that. And I was very, very hesitant about it because some of the activities were a little bit higher level than what I thought she could actually do. I thought, well, just put them in there and see what happens. And I told Carla, my OT assistant, I said, hey, some of these things may be too high level. I don't know that she'll even engage with them appropriately, but let's just try. And I got a call from her like the next day. She's like, oh my gosh, her granddaughter was crying. She did every single thing in that box and she loved it. She loves it.
Yeah.
So, it was just really fun to see that kind of response. But yeah, I mean, I definitely see myself doing that. I think that would be, and that would be something I could offer, just as me as my Rebecca person, not my OT person,
Yeah.
So.
Well, you already have a Google Plus account. That wouldn't be too hard to set up as a hangout. Then it would just be people. You would just film yourself while you're doing it, and people could attend, and they could ask the 5 questions beforehand, or they could attend and ask the 5 questions while you're live. It's kind of, it's up to you
true.
How you would like to do that, and that doesn't need to be. there's not a lot of hoo-ha about
Right.
those things
More
while you're
informal,
doing them.
more, yeah, just coming together and playing, basically.
Yeah.
Kind of attitude, yeah.
Yeah. And when you sent me the photos of the felt flower project, the first thing I thought of was the how-to blog post about how to make it, and what it's for, and any words or instructions that you wanted to go with. And then even at the bottom of the blog post could be a link to the video once you do the activity video on Hangouts. Like, it just feels like it all naturally goes together, and you will need a tech person to do that stuff for you. I mean, that's not the stuff that you want to do, and I don't think it is, then someone needs to be able to set up the Hangout for you. And I think the invitations is kind of, that's easy enough. I mean, you can let people know, or where the communities, the Facebook or whatever communities are of the people that would find it useful,
Right.
So you could post the invitations to that stuff. That wouldn't be so hard, but it might be nice to begin with if someone was helping you set up the event, because I think recently Google changed how you set up a Hangout. It's not as easy. Press a button as it used to be. But anyway, it feels like and the other thing is, if you want someone to be techie for you, then you have to share your login details for those Google Plus accounts and things like that, so that they can set things up for you, like there's another
little bit of flair there. Yeah.
Well, it's something that you have to consider, just as far as trust and
right. I mean, I think one thing Ken suggested was, he sent me a link to the I forgot what it's called. It's like I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
It's a thing where you do a call-in show or whatever, and you can, it's like $47 a month.
Yeah.
And you can do what he does, basically, of course, he pays a lot more because he has a lot more customers or whatever, but and you can even do it for a 21-day trial to even see, how it works and this and that. So I even thought about doing that as opposed to a Google thing.
Yep. If you find out what it's called, that would be great.
I will email you the link to it.
Yeah.
And he said, you could even have a donate button, or you could have a whatever, however you wanted to set it up, you could do it, and I think, part of that, I think it would be good to have some YouTube things on, just to link back to kind of what I would like to do. And to me, it feels good to do a donate button rather than it costs this much or whatever.
Yeah.
It's because right now I'm not really, I'm just kind of feeling my way around and keeping it in a more playful attitude. So I think.
But you know how to navigate YouTube. You don't need anyone.
No, I can do that. Yeah, that's not going to be a problem for me. No, that will be fine.
Yeah,
I could do that. Yeah.
So is your YouTube connected to your Google Plus?
Yes.
Yes. So if I navigate to your Google Plus, then I can find your YouTube channel.
Yes, I don't have any videos right now, but yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off half.
Oh, that's okay. So I'm just thinking, and I was talking to him outside, and I just said, this would be a really great office to have out here. I could just sit out here all day and talk about stuff.
Yeah.
And I said, And then the other day I was laying in the sun. I love our guest bedroom window because in the afternoon the whole bed is just blanketed in sun. Oh my gosh, it's so awesome. And I have all these bright colored quilts, thick on that bed, and it's just so comfy, cozy. And so I was just lollygagging laying on my tummy on the bed, and I got really sleepy headed, and kind of right when you're almost about to fall asleep, and I just said, you know what? This is what you're going to do, and this is what you're doing, and this is what is going to work, and it's going to be fine, and this is what you're going to do all day, every day, and you'll create and play every day. And then that's when I thought of that phrase, create, play every day.
Yeah.
It's just one way to nurture your true nature, and I think that's so true. It's just one way. It's not the way for everybody, but that doesn't matter. The people who find it interesting are going to find it.
Yeah. So did you buy a URL?
I'm sorry, what?
Did you buy a domain name, a .com?
I bought a heartintuit.com. But to me, that sounds kind of heavy-handed and kind of ultra-spiritual kind of foolishness. I don't know. I love that name because your heart is into it, like my heart's in it,
Yeah.
And then heart into it to me, it means, any moment that you walk up into or you experience, you kind of know intuitively what to do in that moment. And that's why I love that phrase.
Yeah.
But it sounds a little, I don't know. I may be thinking about it too much. May be the problem, but I don't know that it says. I don't know the messaging on it is clear. I guess that's what I'm curious about. The clarity around it doesn't feel as clear as what I would like somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Not that I won't keep it because I really like it. I don't want anybody else to have it. I don't want anybody else to have it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever do anything with it, but I don't know what else to call what I do other than create, play every day. And I don't know if that's going to be, I don't know.
Because there are different aspects. So the URL is just the domain name. And then you can call the website when people get to the site. Like you can have a big banner that says create.play.everyday. It could be the first thing that they see. And then, like your business could be called Create, Play, Every Day. And when people press on say you put a link in Google Plus, you make it a hyperlink that says Create, Play, Every Day, but it actually takes you to the URL heartintuit.com. So you don't always have to use...
the same thing.
The same words, like the hyperlink. So the hyperlink it looks like the words you've typed, but it takes you to whatever you've put in code kind of behind it. So it can kind of take you anywhere. So I could say the best tree lopper in the universe, and that could be a link. But when you press on the link, it takes you to a domain name that says treelopper.com. Like they don't always have to be the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I guess, there's part of me that's so excited. I just go, do you want to load the URL to WordPress so that you can start what they call a blog, which is really what you would just put you'd put your video or your picture, and then you'd have some little words. And then if you recorded an MP3 and you wanted to share it, you could have that. And it would just be the thing. And you could have a banner up the top that says Create, Play, Every Day. I mean, I just feel like, do you want to play with your URL online and see what happens?
I would like to. I think it would be fun. Now, my computer hasn't gotten here yet, but as soon as it does, yes, I would like to do that.
Yeah. So I don't know who So you've got a URL, but you don't necessarily have any hosting, do you?
No, as far as I know.
Okay, so that would be the next. The next step is kind of attaching your URL to a host, because what the host does is allows you to put your URL on what they call WordPress, which is really just a kind of open source place where you can put whatever theme you want, however you want it to work.
Okay.
Because if you just want to start with something that's kind of inexpensive, you don't want to get too cool. Like Ken Stone uses Kajabi, and Kajabi
yeah,
and that's great, but it's a lot of money if you're not ready.
Right. It won't feel like play. It'll have to effort to do it, so can pay for it. So it'll pay for itself, which it's not going to.
Yeah,
because I'm just playing with it.
Their new Kajabi, the stuff that they've got now, is so easy to use. If there was someone who wanted to start a website and sell some online courses or products or whatever, I would recommend it. But you have to be willing to make the investment, because their stuff is a lot easier to use than anything else. And it's all integrated, and it's beautiful, and it's, it's much less time consuming to use their stuff. But you've got to be able to justify it to yourself to spend that amount of money.
Right.
So whereas WordPress is free, and I mean, it's relatively simple to use, but you probably wouldn't do the tech stuff. You would either get me to do the tech stuff, or you would get someone from an outsourcing place like Upwork or whatever. You would get them to do your tech stuff.
I would rather you help me with that, because you kind of know the feeling of it that I want to impart. Yeah. Whereas somebody fresh new would not necessarily have the inclination to care about.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get it. I just don't want to.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
If you do.
I would love to. I just don't want to push. I'm not into pushing my services. I'm into saying these are all the options that you have. These are the things that I'm excited about, which doesn't matter, because it only matters what you're excited about. So.
Right. And I think, what I like to do, once I have my computer first, is play around with the video editing part of it. I'd like to get at least 3 videos that I like, that look good to me, that impart that feeling or whatever.
Yeah.
I've already got 2 done. I've got the mobile, and I've got the skipping along and Gramercy time.
Yeah.
So I just want to do one more.
Yeah.
And then I'll play around with kind of doing a voice over part of the one. And I think the third one probably will be the activity box thing. Now that I think about it, I think that would be fun, because I've got a couple of people next week I need to make one for.
Yeah.
So that would be fun. So, yeah, I could do that.
I actually just had a vision. So when you come to your website, it's got the banner that says create, play every day. And the background of the banner is the video of the mobile.
Oh, yeah. I love that. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And if we end up getting, and like I say, it is play. So if we end up getting the WordPress and setting it up and whatever, and you go, no, I don't like it, or I don't know how to use it and it's too hard, then we'll stop and we'll do something else.
Yeah. It's just like that's how I want to do it. It's just like to play around with it and see what feels it. You know what I mean? If it doesn't feel it, then it's okay. We'll just play a different way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And I think I get excited because I can see it.
I love that image of that in the background, because it's so gentle and sweet. And I also love about it because as it's turning, all the hearts and different hanging things are also turning, but they're turning in different directions.
Yeah.
And they're turning without any seeming reason to want to turn this way or that, but just they're turning. It's like so slow Sufis.
Yeah.
Sufi-slowmo.
Sufi-slowmo. Maybe that's what you should call the video, Sufi-slowmo.
They say that the way that a Sufi trains himself not to lose his balance is that he centers himself in the bliss. So in that centering, he's standing still, and his body is the world that swirls around him. Somebody said that. I don't know. It was fun to think about. Oh, they are so happy to see. I threw out some old fruit. It wasn't horribly old. It was just a couple days old,
Yeah.
When the apples get too grainy, I just can't do it. I can't do it. I can't eat it.
Yeah.
So I give it to the crows. And they like it.
Yeah.
They're so cute. Oh, my gosh.
We have galahs, and they actually eat the fermented fruit. They're like teenagers in Surfers Paradise. They get drunk. So they actually and they hang out in these little groups, and you can hear them, they're cracking themselves, and they're falling out of the tree. And
oh my gosh, that would be hilarious.
They are hilarious. They're just, but all I can see is these 18-year-old kids running around, getting drunk, because they can, and how much fun they're having because it's summer and school's out, and
That's funny.
They're very entertaining.
They were so cute. Oh, and a kitty cat came to our front porch last night. She was very sweet. Didn't stay long. I fed her some tuna fish. She went on her way. But I think she belonged to somebody. She just wanted to come
say hello.
Go around for a bit.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go here real quick, okay?
Yeah.
Because I know we may lose that for a little bit. But okay. Go. It's organic coleslaw, okay? It's really good for you. The old for me. Really cool. I don't know if you guys like lemons.
If we like what?
Go. Okay. Oh, you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna hook you up to the. You're welcome. I'm gonna hook you up to my charger. How are we doing on time, honey? It seems late. We've been, oh my gosh, 4:30. What time did we get?
We've been on for like an hour and 20 minutes or something.
Okay.
I mean, we can go for you want to do an hour and a half or what? What's your?
Yeah, let's do an hour and a half.
You can finish whenever you want. It's not like school. You don't have to stay till the end.
Yeah, I don't want to be too much longer, but yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that sounds fun. To play around with it for a little bit, and I want to kind of get to know my computer. I got to name her and stuff. So I don't know, maybe a he. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
Because they're not here.
Yeah.
But as soon as they are, we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
And then we will see.
We will. Yeah, and I just think, like you said, whatever the impulse is, the making videos, the fun stuff that you're doing, just go with that and share what you feel to share, and I'll start collating it, and we'll just see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yay! Yes. I'm excited. It's fun.
Yeah, well, I get to do the design stuff. That's the stuff that makes me happy. Like, I love putting things together. And I don't know if you saw, I think I sent you an email.
Yeah, I saw those. Really nice.
Yeah, so I only just started. So I spent 2 days setting up the onenessexperience.com. So it doesn't, like, it's not finished, and it, like, the links don't actually go to anywhere yet. But, you know, I kind of, that's the stuff I love doing, and then setting up the pages that they go to. And
yeah. That's very cool. I'm excited.
So, I mean, it would be a bit different. The style of yours would be a bit different depending on how you want it to look, and you don't necessarily need all those things in there. You need something that's kind of user experience focused.
Yes.
You'd still want a big font. You want playful colours. You know, you want easy navigation. You don't need a lot of kind of explanations and things like that. You want to make
I think any explanation would be part of the video experience that I would have on the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff about the user experience that's very helpful.
You're so sweet. Okay, I have to show you the ibises and the wood stork.
Show me.
I don't know if you can see them.
Oh yeah, in the distance.
Yeah, they have long orange curved beaks, and I love them because they look like they remind me of sewing machines because they'll like in the ground, you know, like they're a needle in the ground. But instead of sewing something together, they're getting something out. The sewing. It's really interesting. They're sewing the soil.
They are.
So WING.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're very cute, very sweet.
They are. They're hilarious. I do. Yeah, we have ibis here. They're so beautiful. Every time I see them, I can just see Egyptian goddesses.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. So elegant.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So what else has been going on for you, Miss Becca?
Let's see what else has been going on. Oh my gosh, I'm super excited. I'm going to take my camera and my phone and my computer. Well, I may not take my computer. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this play thing goes with us. But I'm going to be going to Joshua Tree, California.
Wow.
Which is like...
Wow, I said, wow.
Yeah. And it's a really cool place because it's, I'm leaving on a Thursday, flying in on a Thursday, early morning, and then I'll come home on a Monday. So it's about 4 days. But it's with that Pure Bioenergy group. But I'm doing the healing. You can go there to learn more about the bioenergy stuff, or you can go for healing, or you can do both. And I'm doing both.
Wow.
So they have there's a lot of energy vortices in that area, and they also have a sound around building that's for sound therapy. So for 60 minutes, you lay on this mat in a concentric circle with other people.
Yeah.
And your beds are kind of connected together. Their mats are connected together, touching each other. And then you lay on it, on your tummy and then on your back. And then they sound all these different devices, crystal bowls, Tibetan bowls, brass bowls, gongs.
Yeah.
And so I'm really curious, I just want to experience that. I mean, it just sounds so amazing. And it's a very stark environment, but it's also going to be very vibrant because it's in the spring, and that's when all the cactus flowers will be blooming.
Oh, wow.
So I want to really, take lots of really interesting pictures and I didn't realize it, but Joshua tree is the type of tree that's in just Joshua Tree area. So it's a very Dr. Seussy looking tree. They almost look like cactus trees.
Yeah.
Have very weird angular branches that, like people that are in weird static positions, kind of.
Yeah.
So anyway, should be really interesting.
It's an album. Isn't Joshua Tree an album? I think it's like a Eddie Vedder.
Maybe so. I don't know.
U2 or Eddie Vedder. There's an album called Joshua Tree.
It's very close to the. It's like 2 hours east of Los Angeles. So it's out in the boonies, pretty much.
Yeah.
But all meals are included. They have organic meals, and it should be a very fascinating thing. And I just said, if I'm going to go to Joshua Tree, I'm going to do it kind of in that way rather than just be a regular tourist type person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To kind of experience all those different layers of it. So I'm really curious. One of the bioenergy therapists that has a practice there lives there. And I met her in Austin when I went to the one in Austin. I really liked her and how she did, how she was. And I found out she lived there. And then that's when I was there is when they said, oh, we're going to go back to Joshua Tree in the spring if you guys want to come, because it was half price if I go, because I've already been to the level 1 before, so I'm going to be basically repeating it, so it'll be half the price of what it would be otherwise. So yeah,
cool.
So yeah.
So have you done the McCusick? What's her name?
Lane. Yeah. I've heard of Eileen McCusick.
Yeah, the book that you sent me.
Yeah.
Yeah, the biofield tuning. I think that's what it's called, biofield tuning.
Yeah, and it's very much. I think the thing I think is so interesting about Qigong, Tai Chi, the bioenergy, what Ken does. It's all the same, but through different prisms, Yeah. It's the flow of information. Is that information impeded? Is it accepted? You have to surrender to accept it, to accept that flow of energy inside of you and out of you. And what is emotion? Is the energy, to me, emotion. That's what makes us human. Part of the reason I still think about that guy that, I took when Tom's mom died and was, asking me if I wanted to stay or leave. And I'm like, are you crazy? I'm leaving to go be with my husband,
Yeah.
And to him, I was very, probably immature, I guess, emotionally or spiritually or whatever. But to me, if I'd have held on and stayed there, I'd have locked those emotions down and I wouldn't allow them to flow inside of me and through me. And I would have regretted that decision for the rest of my life. Yeah. For me. For him, it may have been a different story. I have no problem with that. But it disappointed me in a way that he couldn't understand that. Or he seemed to have a questioning look at me like, are you crazy? Why would you want to go do that?
Yeah.
Kind of looked at me and I'm like, yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is, that's why I love what you do, is that there's no rightness and wrongness in anything. It's what resonates with each person that matters. Yeah. And that's why the personal experience is so important, is because it's not about you should get this top college degree to be successful, or you should do this or should do that, or you shouldn't do that. Of course, one shouldn't murder someone, but, hey, there may be a soul contract. Who knows? I don't know. Far be it from me to make that plan. So not that makes it right in our current law system or whatever, that those consequences will be dealt with. But just because it's not right for me doesn't mean it's not right for anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. The
only value judgment I can make is a value judgment for me. Mm. And to the degree that I can maintain the healthy boundary that I set for myself, then that's the only that's the only boundary that matters. You know, I set you know, my little self-esteem. You know.
And we don't know. And I think that, you know, that's kind of coming back to the difference between when we try and understand the way the world works and we try and have a sense of, well, was it meant to happen? And we have this concept that meant to happen is that we deserve it, whereas meant to happen is about something being meaningful. So, you know,
Yes.
if you have been in pain, if you have been abandoned, if you have been harmed, if you have been through hardship, the meaning is not that it was deserved and that you had to go through that and that was your way of learning. It's just that that experience has meaning. It's
Right.
not an
No.
assessment of the justification of what has occurred.
Right.
It's can we find meaning in what has occurred, in the way that we have understood that it has occurred, because we don't really see the whole of what's occurring. I mean, when someone's punching us in the face, it's hard to see anything else except someone punching us in the face. But there is a lot more going on than that one thing that we think we're experiencing.
Right.
And so it's...
yeah, that makes sense to me. I agree.
And I think, you know, that part of that is one of the stories we have is then we expect ourselves to be punched in the face and aware of all things at the same time. And I just think, like you said, emotion is part of our sacred experience. If we're accepting it as sacred, then whatever we're feeling or aware of when we're being punched in the face, yes, is relevant. That's right. And it's, if we're able to have a different perspective afterwards, then that's what we have afterwards. But in that moment, it's okay to be wherever we are.
Right.
You know, and it's this kind of this sense of, and if we have expectation, that also is sacred. And how can we understand our expectation as something that's not necessarily leading us astray? How can we understand it as something that's revealing to us who we are? You know, so there's a whole lot of different stories that are coming through that age of personal experience that allow us to be present to who we are no matter what, as powerful, you know, I would say as equal and essential aspects of all that is, but people have different ways of expressing what that means for them.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why, to me, it's so interesting to be living alive, is because you know, like when I think of New York City and of all the people and the bee-ness of that place, everybody's so busy, like a bee. You know, all the time it moves. The city moves all the time, all the time, all the time. And when I first went there, I thought I had a kind of a little bit of a value judgment on that. I thought, oh my gosh, I could never live there. That is just too much. But then I thought, isn't it wonderful that there are people who love living there? And how interesting are those people that they can live there?
Yeah.
And what is different about me that I couldn't live there? And isn't that interesting? You know?
Yes.
And how much that reflects nature, the incredible diversity of nature is like infinite. And so we are reflections of that. You know, as humans, each person is so flippin' crazy different. You know, you can't lump people together. And I think that's why people are so polarized, at least in this country, with politics, is because you can't lump people in these groups anymore. It's becoming ineffective, and I think that's why the system eventually will crumble.
Yeah.
Is that it's not serving its purpose anymore. It's no longer relevant.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we've kind of reorganized or been reconfigured in how we operate. And I don't just mean we as in what we understand as humans. I just mean we as in all that is. So
Yes.
the reconfiguration and the fact that we're in a constant state of change is not so much about, for me, not so much about evolving towards something better, but the reconfiguration. So the seed is the tree, is the flower, is the fruit, is the compost.
Right.
There's this sense of as we reconfigure, we are just different reconfigurations. So as the politics changes, because the people are changing, because the environment is changing, because our priorities are changing, because our way of experience and feeling and understanding and philosophizing and, eating and loving is changing. So everything changes at exactly the same.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this. If you had a sheet of paper with all of the points and then you moved all the points around, it's still the same sheet of paper and the same points, but they're just in a different arrangement.
Right.
We're just exploring, and it's endless. There's an endless number of ways for all those points to be arranged, for us to have an endless number of experiences of what we call politics and love and philosophy and science and medicine and all of those things. I love talking to you, Miss Becca.
Too. We have a good time, don't we?
We do.
We do.
So this is the end of your day, isn't it? Like this is...
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to go grocery shopping a little bit.
Cool.
Yeah. By Thomas Gordon.
Is he home?
He is, and he's looking forward to going grocery shopping.
Yes.
He likes going and checking out new things, and he's so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's pretty sweet.
Yes. My husband has to kind of put up with me when we go shopping because I don't know what happens. There's something very 5-year-old that comes out of me when we go into a supermarket. I just instantly start singing and frolicking around, and so
yeah, it was funny. I had this. I went to the deli portion, which is real popular. They cut the meat and everything. It's like a butcher shop inside a grocery store.
Yeah.
And so I was like ninth in line, and I was waiting. So I was doing some qigong stuff at the, just doing different swaying and just being goofy and then I thought about Monty Python and how I think I'm going to do like the Ministry of Silly Walks while I'm going around with my cart,
Yeah.
And walking really silly. And so I did that for a bit, and it was just fun. And the only people that loved it were the children.
Yeah.
Everybody else, you could see people kind of look at me sideways and kind of go really far around me.
Yeah.
But I think they thought I was a bit schizophrenic or something.
Yeah.
It was funny.
It is.
Oh, Lord. Okay, well, listen, girl, I'm talked out, so
yeah.
I'm going to go home.
Okay.
It was much fun talking to you.
It was. Yes, I'm very excited, and I'll let you go shopping and have cuddles and rest at the end of your day and enjoy your whatever it is that you're doing, and I love you, and I'll just kind of Skype, like send me a message or whatever when you feel like you want to connect again. There's no rush. Play with your computer and see what happens, and send me emails and keep me in the loop, and we'll connect when we do. Yep.
Okay. Sounds great.
Thank you for honouring me with money, even though it feels really amazing, and I feel like I get so much when you do that. I feel like there's this whole other conversation I have with God about what it is that I'm doing. So thank you. I'm very grateful.
I'm very grateful for you, Miss Melanie.
And I'll let you know what I buy, because I have some plans about buying exciting things. So.
Ooh, excited. I'm excited to hear that. Okay, cutie.
All right, lovely.
Love.
Have fun.
Okay, bye.
Bye.